So yeah, like I said, we're really excited to get going. And with that, I'll let Melanie introduce herself. Oh, actually, I gotta introduce myself. My name is Colton Anderson. I am an EW admissions advisor. So I work over in the admissions office, work with students in the Eastern Washington area outside of Spokane County, and all students from Idaho. So if you're from those territories, you've definitely heard from me before. So thanks for being here. Yeah, so that's my role, and I'll let Melanie introduce herself. Appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Melanie Potts. I'm our Assistant Director of Business Operations in Housing and Residential Life. I'm also an Eastern alum, so I'm very excited to welcome all of you to Eastern. I think we probably also have some of our current students who are returning to the residence halls and are wondering what is going on, and so welcome to all of you as well. So I'm just going to go ahead, and what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you some updates. A lot of these updates I actually just got myself yesterday, so that's why we've been working really hard to get all these answers so that we can have them ready for this webinar for you. And there are still going to be some questions out there that we don't know the answers to. It's just kind of the nature of the beast right now in the middle of COVID-19. So I'm going to do my very best to answer a lot of the questions that I know have been coming in. And then please do, if I don't address something, put your questions in the Q&A. We have a lot of time built in for questions because we want to make sure that everybody understands what's going on and they're excited and comfortable with what's going on in housing. So first of all, I just want to say I know that there have been some big announcements. So the first big announcement that happened was the suspension of the first-year live-on requirement. That basically just means that this year, nobody is required to live on campus because, you know, we want to provide maximum flexibility for our students, and we understand that there are concerns out there about health and safety. And so we wanted to make that easy and streamlined for students that are coming to Eastern in the fall. The other big announcement that came out that some people heard, I think, and some people didn't because it was a little bit buried in some stuff, was that we're in all single rooms for next year. So, I know that there has been a lot of concern about that, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means in a little bit, but we are in all single rooms. And the primary reason for that is, again, the health and safety of our students. In spring quarter, we went to an all singles system for our students who were currently living on campus and chose to stay. And that's been working really well for us. And we're really excited that in combination with the all single rooms and the fact that our custodial staff is working their butts off to keep our halls sanitized and clean and all of that, they're doing a great job. We haven't had any cases on campus, and for a group quarters living situation, that's awesome. So this is working, and we're doing everything we can to keep our students as safe and healthy as possible. And so far, we're succeeding, and that's very exciting. That's all going to continue into next year. So everything I said about the cleaning and sanitizing, our custodial staff got this super cool looks like it could be out of Star Wars gun that they can shoot on door handles and stuff like that. They're sanitizing the heck out of everything. So we're making sure that we're keeping things as safe as possible, and that's all going to continue into next year. We also implemented some social distancing expectations, and by we implemented, we mean the governor told us to, and we did it because we agree that's a good idea. So right now, our students are being encouraged to, you know, stay 6 feet apart and not be cooking right next to each other in the kitchen. Our kitchens are open and available because we do have some limited dining options right now, just like we all do in the world have some limited dining options right now. And so as a result, the food that you are able to purchase with your meal plan at the convenience store or with your flex dollars at a local grocery store, anything like that that you want to do to cook, we've kept our kitchens open. Again, custodial staff is hitting those regularly, and our residents have been doing an awesome job with keeping those pretty clean. So we hope to see all of that continue in the fall as well. So with that in mind, let me start talking about how we're going to do assignments. Things are really different than they were going to be. So if you had already applied for housing, you know that we had originally communicated that you were going to be choosing your own room. And when this all came down, and we're in an all singles situation with an unknown number of how many people to expect, we kind of had to pull that back. And that's just so that we can do our best to manage occupancy in a way where we don't have to move you around all summer. That's really our goal, is that we're going to be able to choose an assignment for you, and that's going to be your assignment coming in the fall. And so we plan to do our first round of assignments about the second week of July is when we'll send those out. And we know that's a little ways down the road, but we're doing that for a very specific reason. We're trying to get the most number of applications that we can get, and also the most number of cancellations from anybody who unfortunately may have changed their mind about living on campus in the fall, so that we have a good idea of how many people we're going to have living here. And that helps us decide which buildings to have open. So if you are a returning student that's listening to this right now, you already chose your room, and you may be wondering, what is going to happen to me? And the answer is that there's a chance that you are going to have to change rooms. My daughter just walked in, the joys of working from home. Grace, please, no, time to go. Okay, come say hi. Okay, this is my daughter, Grace, joys of working from home. Okay, bye, sweetie. Daddy can brush your hair. Okay, so sorry about that. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. So if you are a returning student and you signed up with a roommate, if that was anywhere other than our university apartments, you will get split up. But the good news is we're going to put everybody who is in a roommate pair right next door to each other. So it's like kind of the great part of having a roommate on campus. You get to be right next to your friend, but you have a place to escape to, where maybe before, when you were going to have a roommate right in that room with you, you didn't. So hey, let's call it a win, right? So we're going to be splitting people up probably, but we are going to put them right next to each other. So I know that's not exactly what some people were planning on, but hopefully that will be a good substitute in light of what we're facing. The other thing is, for people who had already chosen a room, or even if you're a new student and you put on your preferences because you're really interested in a specific building, if we have enough people that are going to live on campus, then all those buildings are going to be open, and you're going to have a shot at getting into that building that you really wanted. But the reality is, if we don't have enough people in order to, consolidate a little bit and make sure that we staff appropriately and all of those things, we are going to have to move some people. So we're kind of hoping it doesn't come to that. Like, we're very excited to have everybody on campus, and we really hope that that many of you will choose to live with us and that we'll have all those buildings open. But there is a possibility that come July, you're going to find out that the building you were very excited for just might not be open. So that's just something to keep in mind and to know. So as we are doing our assignments for new people, if you have matched up with a roommate or you're still searching for a roommate, keep doing that. Because like I said, we're going to be putting people side by side. And so that is an opportunity for you to live really close to your roommate, and still have that kind of closeness and that experience. So please do continue to match up. We'll be looking through all of those roommate pairs and doing our absolute very best to put everybody right next to each other. Sometimes you have people where you really want to live with several people. And so if there's a group of you that are interested in all living on a floor together, reach out to us via email. And our email is going to end up in the chat. And so you'll be able to reach us there. And we file away all those requests. And when it comes time to do assignments, we take every single one of those into consideration and we do our best. So please do that. I already talked about buildings. So just like for returners who may have to move, new people, hopefully you're going to be able to get into a building that you want. Before, it's been really easier, not super easy, but easier for us to predict if you applied by X certain date, then yeah, your chances of getting your first choice building are pretty good. Things are weird now, and it's really hard for us to predict that. And so, the earlier you applied, the more likely you are to get the building you wanted, as long as it's open. And obviously there's less spaces in those buildings now that they're all single rooms instead of double rooms. So it's just very hard for us to predict. So if we don't have a great answer for you when you reach out to us about that, I apologize. We're doing the best we can. Then I do want to touch on our apartments in case there are any transfers on the call or any students that are over the age of 21. We have moved to a rent by the room model in our university apartments. And so that's a really exciting opportunity. Our returning students also have the opportunity to live there if they've lived with us the previous year. And so we still have a few spaces left over there. So if you're a returner who's like, gosh, I really wanted to live with this roommate. Well, in the apartments, because they're all their own bedrooms, you could share an apartment with that person. So that's something to consider. Additionally, if you are a transfer student, we've held out some spaces for transfer students as well so that they can have that opportunity. So if you're interested in an apartment, again, shoot us an email and we'll work on getting you on that wait list. Okay, so we know that the other big question that people have out there is about our rates. And this one is one of the ones that I just found out the answer to yesterday. So hot off the presses, here's what we're doing for rates. We're gonna have two rates. Now that we're in all single rooms, it's just gonna be two different rates. So we're gonna have a standard single rate and then a premium single rate. The standard single rate will be for any room in Pierce, Streeter, Dressler, or most of the rooms in Anderson. I'll touch on that in a second. Now, just because I said those buildings right now, that's not a promise that those buildings are open. Those are just, if that building is open, it will be at the standard rate. And the standard rate is what we currently published as our double rate. We understand that many people choose a double room, not just because they want to have a roommate, but because it's the most affordable. And we're throwing you guys a lot of curveballs right now. And that was a curveball we didn't want to throw you, was an increase in rate. So what you saw as the published double room rate that you would have paid if you had a roommate, that's now what you would be paying for a standard single room. Okay, so our premium single rooms are in Sinyamansuit because it's new, and Brewster because you're in a suite sharing a bathroom with just a couple people instead of a whole floor of people. And then additionally, there's a few other rooms in Anderson Hall that have bathrooms attached. And so those are also going to come at the premium single rate. So what we decided for the premium single rate, Sinyamansuit always costs more money than our other buildings. It just has a whole different set of amenities. And so we decided to set the premium single rate at what would have been the Sinyamansuit double rate. So if you had signed up for Brewster as a returner, or as a new person you were interested in Brewster, you are now getting a discount. Same story on the Anderson in rooms. Those are also going to come down to the Sinyamansuit double rate that had been posted. So that may all sound a little confusing, and maybe you had no idea what those rates were to begin with. You were just choosing things and you weren't paying attention to that. Our rates will be updated on our website on Monday. We're finalizing making it look kind of pretty and readable, and that's going to be posted on our website on Monday. So to really get a look at those costs, that's when you should go do that. And again, in the chat towards the end, our website will be posted as well, in case you don't know that. So that's what's going on with our rates. Again, we just really are trying to honor what we had already posted and put out there. And so hopefully that keeps things at a level that's comfortable for many of our residents. So the other thing that we're having kind of an adjustment with is our dining plans and those rates. And some of that is being adjusted just because dining looks a little bit different right now than it usually does. Our dining services offer so many options to our students all the time. And right now, with things not being able to be open, they're having to offer fewer options. And so what they wanted to do in redesigning the meal plans for the fall is create as much flexibility for how you spend your money as possible, given what they will have open. And so as a result, they landed at kind of a 2 meal plan model. So before there were 4 meal plans, now we're down to 2. So there's going to be a base meal plan, and then you can upgrade that. The base meal plan, and these rates will be posted, so don't frantically feel like you have to take notes. The base meal plan is going to be $4,500 for the year, which means $1,500 for the quarter. Included in that will be a la carte points, which is basically like your debit account that you, whenever you run your Eagle card at any of our campus locations, it just, you see it going down just like what happens to your checking account when you use your debit card. Then the other part of that meal plan is a flex account. Flex account is pretty cool. You can use it with local vendors. And so you can eat at some of the places in Cheney. You can use it at the bookstore, and you can also use it on campus. There's no limit to where you can spend your money on campus. So those are the two types of money that you will have on your account. You can add money at any time. So if you're starting to run low on a la carte, you can call up the dining office or log on, and you can add money at any time. And there's no fee associated with adding money. So you can do that at any point that you need to. Same goes for your flex account. You can add money to that. The convenience of those things is it's one card. If you're using a la carte on campus, you're getting some discounts. So that's exciting. And so dining has really responded in a big way with this and really kind of changed their model. And so if you are a person who is a bigger eater, let's say, you may want to start with the upgraded meal plan, just so you don't have to load more money later. But there really, anybody could start with the base and add money to it at any time. So you have a lot of flexibility there. The other really cool thing that they're doing, so dining has always done for us, where at the end of a quarter, if you haven't used all your a la carte points, they roll to the next quarter. Well, now they've kind of upped their game a little bit, because they know that right now, some people may leave at the end of a quarter, or what if COVID hits again? You know, they're just trying to think, we're trying to think of all these possibilities. And so what they're gonna do at the end of a quarter, if you have money left over at a 75% rate, so let's say you had $100 left, $75 is gonna be deposited into your flex account. The cool thing about a flex account is that it lasts the whole time you're an Eastern student. And so you could be using that money from freshman year up through senior year. So you will have that opportunity. So there's some really cool things that dining has done to be really responsive to just what we're facing. And so in the vein of flexibility, kind of the last thing that I'm gonna talk about, kind of a perk of living on campus that you wouldn't necessarily experience off campus, is the flexibility of it all. You're going to hear maximum flexibility over and over and over when you're talking to Eastern right now, whether it be our classes online or not, or are they in person, or whether it be your housing contract or dining. We're trying to provide you the most flexible experience possible so that you can feel really confident coming to be with us. And that you can know that our whole intention is to take care of you. And so at the end of this year, when our students had to move out, everyone got to move out, and there were no cancellation penalties, anything like that. Things are going to be pretty flexible next year as well. And so we're going to offer a quarterly contract or an annual contract. So if you sign up annually, you're going to pay those rates I just talked about. If you sign up for a quarterly contract because you're like, gosh, I don't want to pay a cancellation penalty at the end of fall if this just isn't working out, you can sign up for a quarterly contract. It's going to cost a little bit more per quarter. And by a little bit more, I mean $150 more. So it's like $50 a month to have that flexibility. So you can choose to sign up for a quarterly or an annual contract with us going into next year. As far as our cancellation penalties, if you're on an annual contract at the end of a quarter, there is a processing fee associated with moving out. And so just know that that's there, and that's always been there. That's been in the contract from the very beginning. And then the other thing I'll say is we really want to encourage people to make decisions about whether or not they'll be on campus or not coming in the fall. And so any cancellation penalties associated with before you move in are still applying. So the first one applies here at the end of May. So if you are deciding that you're not going to live on campus, please let us know by the end of May. But hopefully that's not what you're going to decide. And then the last thing I want to touch on really quick, I know I said the last thing the last time, but I actually mean it this time. So As far as the on-campus experience goes, I know there are a lot of questions about that right now. And quite honestly, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. We wish that we did. What I can tell you about right now is that our staff is working to create some sort of distanced or virtual programming opportunities. They're now going to they're weekly going live on Instagram just to be engaging with our residents. Our staff is also making calls to all of our residents that are on campus just to check in, see how you're doing. And some of those calls are short, I'm fine. And other of those calls have been like a half-hour conversation about life. So we're really trying to make sure that people still feel connected. And then they're also doing some distance programming, as well as our campus life team is doing an awesome job with some of that too. So like our campus rec program has created an active at home whole section to their website with lots of access to those opportunities from home. Our intramural sports are still going, even though we're not in person. They're doing some virtual options, as well as just some things that are happening in the halls, like scavenger hunts, and they're doing mystery mail. And so you get clues in your mailbox, stuff like that. So, and we're creating those opportunities. But the campus as a whole is kind of developing a 4-phase approach that mirrors the governor's 4-phase approach to reopening things. And so we're all in phase 1 right now, all of us in the state of Washington. In phase 2, you may have seen that you can start to gather with 5 people that don't live in your house. I'm very excited for phase 2. And so we would be mirroring that on campus as well. In phase 3, it's gatherings of no more than 50, which is a lot of what we do on campus. And so we'd be able, if we're in phase 3 come fall, things look really awesome and vibrant on campus again. We're out there and we're having fun together. And with those phase 2 and phase 3, restaurants start to open up a little. So now maybe the pub looks different. There's more life happening there, and dining and stuff like that. And then in phase 4, here we go. So we're really open and thriving, if you will. So we're really excited about that. The university is going to be releasing that plan as we kind of solidify it a little bit more. But just know that even if classes were all online, depending on what phase we're in, you're still going to get a college experience. And we really want you to know that. And that's important to us. We realize that right now we've all been cooped up at home and we are done. And we want to make sure that you get what you bargained for. So we're going to be doing everything we can to do that. So I see some questions rolling in, and we'll start working on answering those.
Heck yeah, appreciate it, Melanie. Lots of really good info in there. So yeah, we'll take the time, move over to the Q&A. Like it was mentioned earlier, everybody, great time, toss questions, any questions you might have had on something, as Melanie was talking, something that maybe wasn't mentioned, maybe your internet broke up for a couple minutes and you toss it back in there. We're gonna have Melanie answering live and then some people behind the scenes making sure everybody gets their questions answered. So the first live question, it looks like earlier when you were speaking near the beginning, you were talking about how the preferences that students were given were going to be basically changing, right? So what are you doing anything to help like honor some of those preferences? What are you doing to help those students that did have a specific preference?
So please continue to put your building preferences when you're filling out your housing application. I know that when you did your housing application, it was like, are you interested in a double or a single? Well, obviously that's out the window. You're now interested in a single, just so you know. But the great thing is that we're still going to try and consider your preferences as much as possible. And so it all depends on what buildings we have open, but we are going to be considering whatever you put in there for buildings. So please do continue to put those preferences in your application.
Awesome. So I know that it's probably going to be very dependent based on, you spoke on the different phases that we're going to be in, but how is it going to be looking for students being able to like go to each other's rooms while they're living on campus?
Sure. So it's a tricky question, right? So we can tell you all day long to social distance, and we will encourage you to do that. We really will, and we're doing it with our residents that are in there now. We're not going to like get you in trouble or lock you out of each other's rooms, but it is important that we social distance as long as that is the recommendation. So go hang out maybe in a lounge and sit on opposite sides of it. You know, there are options, but we're not going to say that we're going to be like writing you up or something like that if you end up in a friend's room.
So
we would just ask that you go ahead. Sorry, Colton.
You're not going room to room counting heads is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, it's a thought to key into every room every hour or so, but probably not.
All right, sounds good. Also, the first question that was from Harley Moran, appreciate you, and then that second question was from Anna Edwards. So I forgot to mention you too. Appreciate the good questions. So yeah, keep the questions coming in. The next question is from looks like Ava Ree. Sorry if I messed that up. Says they're coming from out of state and was curious how it's going to look for out of state students. Like, are they for sure going to have a place to stay?
Yeah, so we anticipate we will have a place for everybody. If you have already submitted your application, we do have a place for you. Like for all the applications we have in now, we've got a bed for you. So don't worry about that. We have never before been in a position where we had to turn people away, and we don't anticipate being in that situation again. If for some reason that changes, we would be broadcasting that like crazy, but just know that that is not a concern we want you to have. If you want to talk more about that, we can talk about it offline and work through what your options would be. But if you've already applied, you for sure got a spot on campus in the fall.
Appreciate it. So it looks like Lindsay Hudson has a question coming from a ways away, doesn't necessarily say where, but is asking, you know, if we're going, for example, online in fall and then things transition, what opportunities are there for students to kind of maybe, looks like maybe stay off campus during fall and then move in during the other quarters if things change?
Sure. So it's always been our process that we welcome people each quarter. We know that some people only get admitted in winter quarter. They've only applied then, or they start to transfer, whatever the case may be. So we will continue to welcome new people on campus winter and spring quarter.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate the question, Lindsay. Looks like Evelyn Wheatley has a question, asks, will the people who applied in January or, you know, obviously we were talking everything on a first come, first served basis. How will that be working for students being like prioritized now?
Yeah, so the way we've always kind of operated things, and we don't really intend that to be different this time, is that we consider applications in the order that we received them. So those of you who applied much earlier, if your first choice building is open, you're more likely to get it. So we will still be considering preferences in the same order that we always have.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate the question. And I just had it, but it's all jumping around and I'm trying to find who it was that asked the question. But the question is, there it is, from Haley Satterdale. Was wondering, wow, how are the like bathrooms going to be treated during this time?
Sure. So I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. It's not going to be a ton different than what anybody is used to. There will be decreased traffic in the bathrooms just because by nature of going all singles on any given floor, you've now cut the population of that floor in half. So that is one measure, and part of the reason for going to all singles is to decrease that traffic. Additionally, a deep clean is happening in there daily by our custodial staff, and like I mentioned before, with their super magic tool, they're going through and able to quickly sanitize spaces and stuff like that. So what I wouldn't do if it were me is go in and have a whole, you know, party while we're brushing our teeth. I would be mindful of keeping some distance, but you'll be able to use the bathroom whenever you want. We're not going to legislate that in any way.
Cool, appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate the question, Anna. Let's see what else we got. Oh, sorry, that was Haley that asked that question. That was Anna, the last one, my fault. Oh, looks like we got another question from Harley. Was wondering where, if we have any like printouts or anything advertised online where students could view these rates.
Yeah, the rates will be printable. It's a PDF, and we will have that posted online by Monday afternoon. So you'll be able to get those rates to take a look.
Cool. Let's see what else. Oof, got a little bit of a long one. Let me read this. Okay. Oh, this was Renee. Yeah, Renee. I just typed this message. Yeah, so basically what Renee is wondering, talking about how having students living in singles, like, and being isolated right now, a lot of us aren't really getting that social contact that a lot of us are used to, whether it be friends, family, or what. So Renee it looks like her student's big concern is that if you're like a freshman stuck in your single room, getting to basically just go get food and go to your activities. Professors, she's curious what professors are going to be doing and most likely will be happening on campus in terms of like the rec center and things like that. Like what type of accommodation are we going to have?
Sure. So on campus, even if we were still in phase one, which let's all hope we're not, but even if we were all in phase one come fall, we'd be continuing to try and offer some virtual meetups and some virtual programming and stuff like that in the residence halls. We have a residential curriculum that we work off of, and our team is working really hard to develop and tailor that to meet the needs of our students, given our new kind of reality. So that's what I can say about what it would look like in the halls. Obviously, as we get into phase two and we're able to have some more people together, and then phase three and stuff like that, it gets the doors start to open more and more. As far as what professors are doing, I can't really speak to that. I know that they're working really hard to have a plan in place for classes to be online just in case. And they're also making plans in the other direction because we just don't know what things are going to look like. So I can't speak to that. As far as campus life, because housing is a part of the campus life team. So I'm very fortunate to get to work with be colleagues with some awesome people in our student activities office and our campus rec department and stuff like that. I know that they are all also working on, if you went to the student activities website now, they've got a whole list of stuff that you can engage in right now in our current setting. And they are very excited about the potential of moving through these phases and getting to offer you the things that they've always been able to offer you. So I know that everybody is creating plans that just depend on which phase we're in and what we're able to do, and it's really important to us. I'm super biased because I work in housing and for campus life, but there's a lot of really important stuff that's going to happen in the classroom, so don't skip your classes. But oh my gosh, all the stuff I have pictures of and the people that I love and the memories that I take with me are stuff that happened outside the classroom. And we know that everybody loves that always, but especially in light of what we've been through these past couple months, we're just craving that. And so know that we are working tirelessly to figure out how to create those memories with you and get you connected, and make sure you know that you are an Eagle at heart. So we're working on it, I promise.
And in that same breath, we've got a question from Caitlin Wilson talking about, if we are, say, in that phase one, we're definitely going to be open for students, correct?
The halls will definitely be open. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Appreciate the question, Caitlin. Yeah, so it looks like Annie Payton has a question in regards to like their food plan. So if like things are changing as far as the food plan, like what do the students need to do to go back in, and like do they need to go in and re-sign up for their food plan? Like what does that look like for them on their end?
Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so we are working on making some updates to our application because obviously there are two big changes that have happened. One of them is the meal plans, and then the other one is the option of the quarterly contract. We will have that all updated and ready for you to log in by May 19th. That's like a week and a half-ish from now. That's Tuesday. So we're sorry that we can't have that done sooner. We may be able to, but we just didn't want to promise it and then have to let you down. So we're trying to get all those adjustments made. So what we will need all of you to do is log back into your housing application. Sorry, but you were planning on logging back in to choose your room anyway, right? So it's just choosing your new meal plan instead. So you'll log back in, you'll choose your new meal plan, and then you'll indicate to us whether or not you want a quarterly or an annual contract. If you do not do that, then we will default you to an annual contract and a base meal plan. So go in to make a choice. Please make a choice, but we will default you into those other things if you end up not getting in there by July.
Cool. So I'm scrolling through questions here, and I've got a couple questions, honestly, that are all pretty similar, and I'm trying to get names real quick. I know Megan Poffenroth, it looks like. Let me see if I can scroll up. Connor Buenaventura. Man, y'all got awesome last names. A couple of other people, but basically the main question that we're getting from these people is, you know, if things change, say November, just throwing out, you know, during fall quarter, for example, are they going to be able to move into double rooms moving, you know, forward throughout the rest of the year?
So we are going to be in all single rooms all next year. We understand that it would be nice to be able to do that. It would certainly open up some more space on campus, stuff like that. But we are going to stay the course with single rooms throughout the year next year. That will not change.
Cool. Yeah, sorry if anybody asked one of those questions, I butchered your name or something like that. Like, but definitely seen a bunch of questions or like around that. Let's see, this bounces around. It looks like, where was it at? Yeah, so it looks like Marianne Gibbons was curious, is there like a priority? Oh, sorry, that's my puppy. Steady. Stop it. Just curious, like, is there a priority in like opening and or closing like halls specifically, like in order?
So, I mean, yes and no. The priority is really, this is truly for us a numbers game. So I love logic puzzles. I've been doing housing operations for years, and housing operations is like one giant logic puzzle when it comes to assigning everybody every year. And it's that way again this year, but like a whole new one that I get to try and solve. So really what we'll be looking at is how many beds do we have and how many people do we have. We will for sure, at minimum, have one premium and one standard building open so that we can honor those rates. But beyond that, it's going to be, you know, some of it will be based on what people have requested, but a lot of it is just going to be a numbers game.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate the question. So it looks like Hunter Pearson is curious, like, are meal plans required for students? You know, what students are required to have a meal plan, those types of things. What's that look like?
Sure. All students that are living in the residence halls for the first time are required to have a meal plan. Our returning students who have lived with us for a year have the option of opting out of a meal plan, but it is required for all first-time residents.
Appreciate it. Let me see. Are there any other? Looking at answering live. So I saw another question in here. I feel like it would be a good one for you. I can't remember the name behind it, but basically they were wondering, like, if we're changing double rooms to single rooms, what's the room layout going to look like?
Yeah, so it's going to look the same, quite frankly. I mean, strictly from like a manpower perspective, we don't have enough people to move all those beds and desks and stuff like that out. Now, we have in years previous repurposed double rooms as single rooms and left the furniture in there. And a lot of people push the beds together and make themselves a king size bed. So that's something that you could think about or look forward to. In Brewster, if Brewster is one of the halls open, those bedrooms all have one bed, one desk, etc. So whatever the furniture was going to be, which is however many people we expected were going to live in that room, that's what's going to be there when you get there in the fall. Good question.
Yeah. Also pertaining to something you were talking about earlier with the meal plans, university apartments, is that on campus or off campus?
Yeah. The university apartments are on-campus housing. We operate them. We love our residents there, just like we love our residence hall residents. They are on-campus housing. Now, touching on the meal plan question, if you live in an apartment, you are not required to have a meal plan. And a lot of that is because, I mean, it's an apartment, you have a full kitchen at your disposal all the time. We understand they're probably going to be utilizing that more. That being said, you have the option to purchase a meal plan. So we've had people that live in the apartments still purchase a meal plan because it's really nice to have somebody else cook your food for you. So know that that's an option for you. But if you are living in the apartments, even if you're a first timer in the apartments, you're not required to have a meal plan.
Cool. Cool. Keep sending those questions in, y'all. Keep sending those questions in. I'm trying to look, see what else we got. So this one's actually, I'm gonna kind of double tap. I appreciate the question. It looks like Grace Stumbaugh has a question. It's a little bit more transfer oriented, but we've been talking a lot for like incoming freshmen. So Grace's question is basically like, do transfer students have an opportunity to live on campus or live in the apartment, right? And that's please do, Grace. But building on that, can you kind of talk about what it looks like for transfer students living on campus, opposed to, you know, because like I said, we've been kind of talking mainly about just incoming freshmen.
Sure. Yeah, so if you're living in the residence halls and you're a transfer student, all of the same opportunities are going to be offered to you that we're offering to our first year students. So all of the events that we plan, the resources, all of that is available to you. Same goes for living in the apartments. Anything we offer at the apartments is available to you, absolutely. But there will be less events there and stuff, because mostly it is returning students and older students who have already made some connections and stuff like that. So we'll be providing some events, but not as many. If you live on campus at all, though, you have access to our housing office and our professional staff members, and we are here to make sure that you get plugged in somewhere on campus so that you can have a great experience. And we also, we know a lot of people. We are well connected. And so there may be a class you're having a hard time with, or you need to talk to a certain advisor, or you have some financial aid questions. We sort of specialize in being the hub of all of that and getting you connected with the right people. So as a transfer student, I would say just the connections that you can make on campus are some of your greatest assets. It's one of the biggest things we can offer to a transfer student.
Cool, appreciate it. So this is for Keena Thompson. Keena Thompson asked to see my dog. This is Sadie. She was barking super hard over there, so I had to go get her and distract her. Hopefully she doesn't bark anymore. I apologize for that. But yeah, there you go. There you go, Keena. So let's see what else we can do for questions. Okay, here we go. So it looks like we have a question from Vanessa Oles. Sorry if I messed that up. Asking, are we going to be able to like change their room preferences, like building wise, or is it too late?
No, not too late at all. So you can log back into your housing application at any point in time. We are, of course, going to be asking you to log back in to choose your new meal plan and stuff like that. But you, even after that, you can access your application at any time. Things basically will be kind of solidified as of June 30th, because then that first week of July, we're going to be working really hard to get all of those assignments done. And so any changes that you make during that time, we may not see. So I would encourage you to kind of figure out what your preferences are and make all those decisions by June 30th.
Cool. Appreciate the question. Yeah, so it looks like Emerald Farrell has a question about incoming freshmen and living in the off-campus apartments.
In off-campus apartments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like how would that look?
So you are not bound by the live-on requirement this year. It will be back next year, but this year for 2021, you are not bound by the first year live-on requirement. So you are welcome to choose on-campus or off-campus housing. The big difference, I can't speak to what your experience would be like living off campus. I lived off campus for 1 year, my senior year, when I was a student at Eastern, but obviously things are different than the many, many years ago that I did that. So as far as what your experience would be, I can't really speak to that. The thing that I will say is a lease is a lease is a lease in the private renting community. And so if things went weird and we had another outbreak, heaven forbid, or whatever the case may be, you're going to be locked into a lease all year in the apartments. And so flexibility is the thing that living on campus and using university affiliated opportunities can provide you. And so that is, when you're making this decision, really have that at the forefront of your mind. The campus experience, yes, totally different on campus and off campus. And it's your choice whether or not to engage in that. But this year, especially, being really cognizant of what it means to be locked into a 10-month or 12-month lease off campus, just really be thinking about that. So that's what I would say. I mean, I can't speak to anything else that they're doing, but something to be aware of.
And that would definitely be an advantage per se of living in like the university apartments, is that you're not going to be locked in that year-long lease, for example. And incoming freshmen are allowed to live in those as well this year.
Well, no, not technically. So students that are over the age of 21, or any student that has done 1 year of college outside of high school, so post high school graduation, you qualify for our university apartments.
Perfect. Awesome, appreciate it. So yeah, can you go over like the annual rate versus the quarterly rate? It seems like we're still having a little bit of confusion on that.
Yeah. So with the annual versus the quarterly, basically by committing to live with us for the whole year, you pay that double rate that had already been posted. If you want the flexibility of a quarterly contract, there's a little bit of an upcharge for that. And honestly, that's really more to do with kind of some extra outreach and processing and moves in and moves out and cleaning and all those sorts of fun things that are associated with people coming and going at the ends of quarters. And so per quarter, that will be $150 more than the other rate. And that'll be reflected in the rates sheet that'll be posted on Monday. The thing to know is if you do choose a quarterly contract and you end up staying with us all year, we will refund that $450 to you at the end of the year. Thank you for staying with us. Obviously, you lived here for a whole year. We're going to give you the full year rate. So that will get refunded to you. So if you want to take advantage of that flexibility from quarter to quarter, but you end up staying the whole time, it won't have cost you a dime more by when all is said and done.
Sounds good. And we're kind of getting near the end here, guys. Definitely going to do our best to get all the questions in, roll through them. So, but yeah, we're sitting at about, 10, 15 minutes or so left. So we'll get through all these questions for sure. Appreciate that question, Juliana, too. I didn't really give the shout out you deserve. It's like Angel Amazola has a question about like, when are students looking to know when they've been assigned that?
Yeah, so anybody who has applied by June 30th will get an assignment the second week of July. So we will notify you via email. So make sure that you are checking your Eagles email. It's just in general, not just housing related, please be checking your Eagles email. There's valuable financial aid information in there, housing information, stuff about registering for classes, but that is where we will be sending that the second week of July.
Cool.
Colton, I've seen some questions pop up about the dining plan, so just gonna come back to that real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
So a couple clarifying things. So with the dining plan, you will have a la carte and flex. And for students who are returners, what's a little bit different about that from last year is there used to be special event counts that aren't a part of the meal plan this year. So that's one piece. The other thing to know is that the discount that I spoke about at the register is a discount of sales tax. So basically, if you're spending using your meal plan, you will not have to pay sales tax. Anybody who, like if I buy food on campus, I have to pay sales tax on that. So that's the discount that's available to you this upcoming year, is not having to pay that sales tax at the register. So it's a perk of, like if you started to run low on your a la carte, please reload your a la carte. Don't just spend with your debit card, because you're getting more bang for your buck by not having to pay that sales tax. So just want to touch on those two things.
Good to know. Appreciate the info.
Yeah.
So it looks like Keena Thompson had a question about like when do students need to have decided whether or not they want to do that annual or quarterly contract?
Well, I would say hopefully by June 30th is when you will have done that, because shortly after we assign you a room, charges are going to go onto your student account.
Okay.
So please lock that in by then. If you apply after June 30th, which you're welcome to do, I want to be clear, there's not a deadline to apply for housing. So if you're kind of riding the fence and trying to make a decision and you're like, I'm going to wait until August and see where we are in the phases and stuff like that, because you don't want to lose your application fee, because there's a non-refundable application fee. If you want to wait, you are more than welcome to do that. So just at the time of your application, if that's the boat you're in, choose it then.
Cool. Looks like Felicia Abad has a question about like what will move-in day look like, you know, if things are, say, how they are now.
Yeah, awesome question. So this is one of the puzzles I get to solve over the course of the next little bit here. Move-in day is, I mean, seriously, move-in day is like my favorite day every year. We do all kinds of cool stuff. You know, we've got so many volunteers helping move your stuff up to your room so that it's like minimal workload on you, and the marching band comes by, and every year like students are watching the marching band, and I'm a mom so I get emotional and I cry, you know, it's just like a great day. So I don't know what that's going to look like. I can tell you we'll have a couple different contingency plans that we're developing over the next little bit. What I would ask, we always do kind of a staggered move-in just to try and keep the lines shorter, waiting for the elevator and stuff, so it doesn't take you as long. We are going to need your help in a big way if we are in kind of one of those phases where we're having to be 6 feet from each other, because those lines are going to be you know, around the block if everybody shows up at the same time. So as we release our move-in day plan, please work with us as much as possible, and so that we can all get through this together, because it is going to be a little bit crazy. Luckily, with all single rooms, there will be less people in each building, so hopefully that will alleviate some of that. But yeah, move-in day is certainly on my mind, and as soon as we have information for you, we'll be pushing it your direction.
Cool. So we don't really have a necessarily like we'll have it released by this date, just as soon
No,
as.
yeah, not at this point. I'm sorry. My hope is that we'll be able to release something associated with when we assign assignments out. We'll be able to say like, okay, here are kind of the plans we're thinking of, but we need a little time.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So it looks like Abigail Ricky, apologize, is asking like visitors. How would that look for visitors over like the school year? You know, would like your sibling or like your family wanted to come?
Yeah. That's challenging, right? Without knowing what the expectations from our governor are going to be, it's hard for us to speak to that. We really love for you to have your family visit. We really think it's a big part of the college experience to get to show off your new home and your new friends, and like, this is where I go eat every day, you know, like you do all that kind of fun stuff. And so we really want you to have that opportunity and that experience. But what that looks like, as far as, you know, we're really open to overnight visitors a lot of the time, and depending on what phase of things we're in, we may have to be a little bit tighter on that. But please do be making, you know, health conscious plans to have visitors, is what I would say at this point. But as we get closer, we'll be, you know, in constant communication with you about what our expectations are when it comes to that.
Cool, appreciate it. So running a little bit low on time here. We've got, we're gonna probably run this. It looks like we've got a decent amount of questions still coming in. So we're gonna run this, keep it going, do our best to get questions answered. If anybody is sending in questions and they don't get answered, we're gonna be reaching out to you individually, making sure that we get that information to you. Just because, like I said, we're running low on time. So we're looking like we're gonna probably be able to run it until about 12:10-ish. So we'll extend it a couple minutes, make sure everybody gets an opportunity, right? But if you don't get that opportunity, know that we'll make sure that we're gonna be reaching out to you. We're not just gonna leave you hanging. So as far as questions go.
Also, while you're searching for a question, Colton, I just want to say, so based on all the questions that you all are asking, we're going to be compiling an FAQ that we're going to post on our website within the next week, hopefully. So your questions are so incredibly helpful to us so that we can know what students are wondering, because if you're wondering it, someone else is wondering it. So please do submit those questions. And like Colton said, if it doesn't get answered right here, we will be posting the answers to many of these questions and reaching out individually, like Colton said. But yeah, sorry, Colton, go ahead.
No worries. I just had a question and it disappeared on me. There it is. Yeah. So Anna Edwards was curious. If we're looking to say like Eastern is looking to consolidate our buildings, but the point is to keep everybody as far apart from each other. What is the idea behind us not opening up all of the different halls?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. So there are a couple things at play here. Health and safety means a lot of things, right? And one of the things that it means is making sure that we have enough staff to make sure that the building is safe, not just from a, I hope you don't get the virus standpoint, but from a security standpoint, mental health, like having the right amount of people close by so that we can connect with you if you start to struggle a little bit, all of those things. And so we look at health and safety so globally, not just as it comes to the virus. So the single rooms and the really awesome work that our custodial team are doing are the virus part of that, right? But being closer together and having our staff deployed that way, because we are a business, so we're going to be employing the appropriate number of people associated with how many people we have. And so it's important to us that we are as close to you as possible. And so if we spread everybody out all over campus, and we have like 20 people in that building and 30 in this one, just being able to check in with all of you would be incredibly difficult. And so when we say health and safety, know that we are thinking of it so globally. And we're not just COVID focused. So that's kind of the rationale behind that. We just need to be able to keep the buildings going, and from just like a physical standpoint, and also from a being in touch and contact with all of you.
Cool, appreciate it. So I'm seeing a couple questions like varying of what they are specifically, but they're kind of around like emotional support animals. Are we making any changes to that, or what do we have available for students to be able to like bring into the halls to help them? Things are pretty crazy right now as far as that goes, so that could be really helpful for a lot of students.
Yeah, good question. So we welcome approved emotional support animals, approved animals. They may be a service animal or an emotional support animal. The way that you go about getting that approved is by working with our Disability Support Services office. And so I will make sure that we put up in the chat their email address. I would imagine that there may be some more demand for that this year, especially because you're not navigating like, oh, what if my roommate hates my cat, or whatever that situation is. So yeah, we welcome that situation. There are expectations of how you care for your animal and how it exists in the community, but I would hope that you have expectations of how you take care of your animal as well. So we don't anticipate that being too big of a problem. But we have for many years welcomed emotional support animals, and we will continue to do so as long as you get those approved through our Disability Support Services office.
Cool, appreciate it. I don't remember who it was, but somebody was asking what specifically like the bed sizes are looking like. Just obviously, a lot of people have different concerns about that. So I was curious if you could talk about that one.
Sure. So in our residence halls, other than Dressler, so Dressler has a standard twin. So if you get assigned to Dressler, you'll have a standard twin bed. All the other residence halls have extra long twin. As far as like the exact dimensions of that, I believe that the length on a regular twin is 76 inches and an extra long is 80 inches. Seems like something I should know as somebody who's been doing this for this long, but I don't have that one memorized. But just know that if you buy extra long twin sheets, you're going to be good in almost all the halls except Dressler. And even if you buy extra long twin sheets in Dressler, you just have a little extra space. So extra long twin is probably your safest bet. If you push those beds together, which in some of the halls you will have the opportunity to do based on how you can arrange your furniture, if you push the beds together, it becomes a king size bed. So that's what you want to do.
Cool. So it looks like Rochelle Patero has a question asking about like parking permits, how that would look for students living on campus. Is there any changes as far as that goes?
Yeah, no real changes there. So if you live in the residence halls, you have the opportunity to apply for a residence hall parking permit. That grants you access to certain lots that nobody else has access to. Only our residents have access to those. You don't have an assigned parking space. You just have the ability to park in that lot. So when you log in, the system through all the special computer magic will recognize you as a residence hall student and point you towards the right permit.
Cool. So it looks like we're having another question from Caitlin Hogan about like when during the quarter do we need to decide that we won't be living there the next quarter?
Okay, so like if you were on a quarterly contract, maybe. Okay, if you were on a quarterly contract, we will reach out to you probably about a month before the quarter ends just to see what you're thinking. Ultimately, I mean, you could say, yeah, I'm planning to stay. And then on the last day of the quarter, you could move out. I mean, we're not going to stop you from doing that, nor are we going to penalize you if you do that. But we will probably reach out to you, and we will be reaching out to you. All of our quarterly contract students will be reaching out to you, asking you kind of what you're thinking, and we'll work together to do that. Everybody will have the same move out day at the end of a quarter. So like at the end of fall quarter, we close the residence halls for that winter break. So whether you're a quarterly student or an annual student, we would expect that you were moved out by that last Friday of the quarter. That won't be different for students on a quarterly or an annual contract.
Cool. And then earlier we were talking about parking passes. The question came up for like parking passes for students that are living in like the university apartments versus like the residential.
Yeah. So they have their own lot and owns their own permit. And so they'll work with you on that. Parking will work with you on that. And then that lot is a little bit smaller. And so if you know where our apartments are, if you don't know and you look at a campus map, the apartments are kind of right next to the Red Barn, and there's a great big parking lot in front of the Red Barn, and that will be used as overflow parking. So you're pretty close there. That is what the plan is for parking there.
Cool. Looks like we have a question from Abigail Granier asking, how will this look like? Well, obviously, as we've reiterated over and over again, like we have different contingencies in place, you know, obviously depending on what phase we're in, things are going to look drastically different. But do you know how this will look for students that are looking to potentially like work with housing when they show up on campus?
Yeah, we will have some student staff. How many that is hard to say. Like Colton alluded to, and I keep saying it's like, oh, it depends on the numbers. It really is going to depend on the numbers. We will have student staff. Our student staff are so valuable to us and to our students as a resource. We know that it's more fun to often go to a peer than to go to an old lady like me when you have a question. And so we will be having some student staff positions. We just don't know the quantity at this point, but we will be in contact with all the students who have applied for those positions.
Cool. Let me see if I can find any other questions. I didn't see too many. Oh, Sarah Schwartz has a question about like, do we know any specifics for what this food is going to look like when it opens, when we open up in the fall, for like what restaurants are looking to be open, for example, on campus?
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn and make commitments for our dining team members. I believe that minimally the Union Market will be an option. And I last heard that Einstein's and Panda would be the other open options in the fall. It's really limited right now based on you know, just kind of what the rules are from the governor and stuff like that. And so if we're still in phase one, I don't know if it will be only the Union Market, but we will have locations in the pub for sure. And then hopefully Einstein's as well.
Cool. So I'm looking around. I have one saved to kind of send us on our way, but I'm trying to see if I can get anything else from us, from our students, that maybe something quick that they might want to know. So a big one that I'm seeing, and definitely don't even know where we're at in this process personally, but something that I know that is on a lot of our students' minds is, do we have any updated information for them of like the application?
The application fee.
Yes.
Okay, so we recognize that a big switch was made institutionally in that with the decision not to have the live on requirement in effect for the upcoming year. So we sent out an email to all our students who had already applied before that announcement was made, saying, hey, so this just happened. And so everybody who received that email will have the opportunity to have their non-refundable application fee refunded if they end up deciding not to live on campus. Anybody moving forward who applied after the decision was made to not have the live on requirement in effect, that still remains a non-refundable application fee. So that doesn't really act like a deposit. It really truly is a fee that we use to help cover the costs of what it takes to run this business. And so as a result, that's kind of the plan we made. We want to honor the fact that there may have been several people that applied to live on campus strictly because they were told they had to. And so that's why anybody who applied before that announcement was made will qualify for a refund. If you want that, you just need to reach out to our housing office at the housing email.
Cool. And it looks like we got one last question that we can get out real quick before we take off. Vanessa Olias is curious, when is move-in day? Like, do we have a date for that?
So this year move-in day is Thursday, September 17th. Historically, move-in day has been on a Friday, but with some really exciting changes to orientation coming here in the fall, whatever version of orientation we're able to have. But with some of the changes coming to that, we are pushing move-in day a day earlier. So it will be on that Thursday, the 17th. Now, we always get people who are very panicked and are like, but I can't come on that day, even when it was on Friday. I can't come on that day. You can come any day after that. Let me be clear. Before that, we're not quite ready for you typically, but any day after that, you are welcome to come and start partaking in orientation and getting settled into your room before classes start.
Cool. And like it was mentioned earlier, I see a lot of more specific questions are kind of the ones that we have left at this point. Like, for example, how is my major going to be looking if it's, offline? Do I need to live on campus if my major comes out and says that we're going all offline, or very, very specific things like that. So definitely want to reiterate that we're going to be reaching out to you. We're definitely not leaving y'all hanging. We just want to make sure that we're getting information to students that are a little bit more broad, so that way we can answer your specific question with as much detail as we can. With that being said, really, really appreciate everybody taking the time to come out here, ask those questions to us. I know that this is not the way that we would have liked to have done it. Obviously, if we could, I mean, it's housing. We definitely want to have you here on campus with us. That's what we do. So regardless, really appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to come ask these questions, to come reach out to us. If you didn't get a chance to take a look at it, if you go to ewu.edu/housing, you'll be able to get all the information on that. Housing@ewu.edu if you have questions that didn't get asked, or if you missed anything. And the number is also 509-359-2451. So definitely reach out to them if you have any questions, or if anything you're curious on that didn't get answered today. With that, Melanie, do you have anything else you'd like to mention?
I really want to say thank you so much for your patience with us as we've worked through this process. Just like this is changing for you, it's changing for us in ways that we couldn't have imagined. And we're really trying to be thoughtful of how this is impacting all of you. And so we're trying not to make too many hasty decisions and be thoughtful as we work through that process. And so we really appreciate your patience. You all are like what makes our job amazing and fun, and we don't exist without you. And so you are very valued, and we really can't wait to welcome you into the Eagle family and have you join us this fall.
For sure. Can't wait for y'all to show up, regardless of when it happens. Can't wait for y'all to show up. So we're definitely excited for you. We want to give them like a Go Eags or something, like you can just exit it like that. Like, what are you thinking?
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank
you all so much. Go Eags.
Yeah, for sure. Go Eags, everybody. Have a good one.